Now, war in the West Asia is turning into a windfall for the world's biggest oil company. As missiles, blockades, and shipping disruptions shake the global energy markets, Saudi oil giant Aramco has posted record gains yet again. But along with the bumper profit comes a stark warning that if the crisis continues, the world could face a prolonged oil shock as well. The Iran conflict has supercharged Saudi oil giant Aramco's earnings, with the company posting a 44% surge in the second quarter net profit as oil prices spiked amid one of the world's biggest disruptions in the global energy markets. Aramco reported a net profit of $32.69 billion for the April-June quarter, up from $22.67 billion a year ago, riding the wave of soaring prices for the crude oil, refined fuels and petrochemicals. But behind the bumper profit lies an escalating geopolitical crisis. The company says that the conflict around the Strait of Hormuz has forced it to reroute oil shipments as one of the world's most critical energy choke points remain disrupted. Nearly one-fifth of the global oil trade normally passes through the narrow waterway. Aramco CEO Amin Nasir said that the company avoided major supply disruption by relying on Saudi Arabia's east-west pipeline, strategic storage facilities and Red Sea export terminals. Yet, he warned that the damage to the global energy system is already enormous. According to Aramco, the world has lost access to more than 2.6 billion barrels of oil, disrupting supply chains across sectors, including automobiles, agriculture, chemicals, manufacturing, and semiconductors. Nasir cautioned that even if the Strait of Hormuz is reopened today, it could take up to 18 months to replenish depleted global oil inventories. And the crisis may not be over yet. The company says that fresh threats have emerged in the Red Sea after Iran-backed Houthi rebels announced a blockade targeting Saudi Arabia's oil industry, putting shipping through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait under pressure and raising fears of another supply squeeze. That means the world's two most strategic oil shipping routes are now under threat at the same time, and a scenario that has rattled markets and pushed crude prices sharply higher. Now, despite the turmoil, Aramco says that it has maintained a 98.4% supply reliability rate, continuing exports through the east-west pipeline to the Red Sea port of Yanbu. Aramco has now warned that if disruptions continue in both of the Strait of Hormuz and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, the fallout could extend far beyond the oil prices, triggering higher inflation, disrupting the global trade and slowing the economic growth worldwide. And for more on this, I'm being joined by Dr. Jain Das Gupta. He's a former Indian diplomat. So thank you so much, Mr. Gupta, Das Gupta, for joining me on the broadcast. My first question to you is for the viewers to understand, even after being under attack, a drone attack has also hit the Saudi's Aramco facility. And even despite the prolonged war, how do you think that these oil giants are still making profits and are being profitable for a prolonged time now? So you have to unmute yourself, please. Meanwhile, the war in West Asia is turning a windfall for the world's biggest oil company, and it's just not Aramco. Other oil giants are also registering profit with the increase and the huge spike in the crude oil prices, courtesy the Iran war, which has disrupted the two most crucial oil routes in the world. The Strait of Hormuz is under disruption since the war has begun between the US and Iran, and the Iran-backed ally Houthis have also threatened and have attacked a lot of ships going through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait as well. Mr. Das Gupta is back with us. So please continue. For the viewers to understand, simplify the profit gains of these oil giants despite the prolonged war between US and Iran.
Geography of Saudi Arabia has played a very important role because they have two exits for their oil. One is through the Strait of Hormuz, which has remained blocked off and on since February 28th, when the war started between the US and Israel on the one hand and Iran on the other. But the other exit is through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait and the Red Sea. And that has only recently, I think, come under attack from the Houthis. So Saudis have the a massive pipeline, the East-West pipeline, and they have they can stock a lot of oil around on the Red Sea front. So they have been sending their oil to the through the East-West pipeline to the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, and from there they have been exporting. That is one reason why their supplies have not been disrupted to the same extent as that of the other Gulf countries. The second point is that the price of oil has increased since the Gulf War. It has from a level of around $65, it has been in the region of $85 to $90 and even higher. Over $100 also for a short while. So for the same volume, if they have been exporting, they would be getting much higher price.
Right.
And that is why their profits have risen from about $22 million to about $56 million.
So, Dr. Das Gupta, this is, do you think that this is driven by genuine demand? Because we have seen panic buying also, we have seen the disruption, we have seen that there was a shortage of supply as well, or do you think this is just purely geopolitical premium that these oil giants are enjoying right now?
As far as Saudi Aramco is concerned, I think it is basically the geopolitical risk and the attendant problems, downstream problems, which have led to this topic for Saudi Aramco. But it cannot be said of the other Gulf oil companies, which have been using the Strait of Hormuz, because they have suffered a lot. And as the Saudis themselves have acknowledged, the oil reserves in different countries have come down, have been very seriously depleted. So even if the war were to stop tomorrow and the Strait of Hormuz were to become operational, it would need about 18 months before the oil reserves in different countries go back to the old levels and things come back to an even keel. So I think it is basically, as far as Saudi Arabia is concerned, it is because of the East-West pipeline, because of the huge storage facilities on the Red Sea front, and the unhindered usage of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait till quite recently when the Houthis launched their
Das Gupta, the Aramco facility has also warned that the world has lost 2.6 billion barrels of oil as well. How serious do you think this warning is? Because they have said that even if, let's say that the disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz is resolved today, it will take more than 18 months to restore that inventory that has been lost because of the war.
It's true, because many countries have drawn down on their reserves.
Right.
Each country keeps a certain amount of reserve based on its economic strength and its requirements. So that has been drawn down. Now, it is very uncertain in the whole atmosphere as to how long this peace will continue, because now there is still hostility. For the past 2 days, I think the attacks on Iran have stopped. But it is still very uncertain. So in this scenario, once the Strait of Hormuz is made operational, each country would try to top up its reserves back to its old levels. And that is what the Saudis have pointed out will take these 18 months, because 2.6 billion barrels of oil have not been, it's not been possible to send this oil to different countries. And they have been drawing down on their reserves, including India and China and all the major oil users.
Meanwhile, Dr. Das Gupta, stay with us. US President Donald Trump has accused ExxonMobil and Chevron of making too much money off the higher fuel prices and has said that the oil giants should now give some of that back to the public. Let's first listen into what Donald Trump had to say about oil giants making profit with the windfall.
Making too much money, okay? Based on a shortage, they're making too much money. I don't like it. When we're finished with Iran, you're going to see the prices drop through the floor. But they made too much money, too much money. Chevron, too much money. ExxonMobil, too much money. When you look at one company where they made 12 times what they made the year before, they're going to give some of that back to the public, and they better cut the retail price, the consumer price. Too much money. You're surprised I'm saying it? I'll say it loud and clear. I'm not happy about it.
Well, Doctor, this was Donald Trump for you. He has said that give the money back to the public because the kind of profit that you're enjoying is because of the war and because of the crude prices that has gone up. I want to ask you, how realistic is it for the government to ask these oil giants to share their extraordinary profits back with the public?
I think the money will go back to the public. That is not feasible. What can be done is that a government can impose abnormal profit taxes for extraordinary profits, and thereby it can tax these companies which are making abnormal profits and then plow it back into consumer welfare. That is one feasible solution. But if the companies voluntarily reduce their prices and stop making very large profits, that is another thing. But I don't think in the present scenario, when oil is freely traded in the global market, countries, oil companies, large oil companies would voluntarily lower the prices and sell oil at cheaper prices. That is, I think, unlikely.
Before I let you go, I just want to ask you that we have seen Donald Trump commenting on the war time and again. He has said that this is my final warning to Iran, that if you do not make a deal with me, and he has also halted a lot of attacks and has taken a U-turn while attacking Iran. I want to ask you, do you think that the war with Iran is getting too costly for Donald Trump to win? And it's also getting... he cannot also afford to lose the war. He has been in a very difficult position as of now. Do you think that Donald Trump is walking a tightrope right now?
Tightrope since 28th of February when he attacked Iran without very clear objectives in mind. The Israelis had a clear objective. They wanted to defang, so to say, Iran and not let Iran ever have a nuclear weapon. The Americans had already got an agreement way back in Obama era, which President Trump in his first stint had reneged on. He had cancelled that agreement. It had been negotiated over 2 years and then it had been arrived at, and it could have ensured that Iran did not have a nuclear weapon. Now it is back to square one. President Trump is facing an uphill task in the midterm elections due in November in the US, when 35 seats of the Senate would go to the polls and the whole House of Representatives. And he's like a lot of ground in this election. So this is a problem. The other point is that Iran has dug in its heels, and Iran is prepared to pay a heavier price than it has so far.
Right.
So the only option before the US is either to keep attacking Iran, which is also depleting its own missiles and other armaments, and it is going to be expensive for them to continue with this. The other option for them is to send troops to Iran to occupy Iran, and which is not likely to be liked at all by the American public, because they did not send President Trump to the White House in the second stint for one reason, for several reasons, of course, but one of the major reasons was that he did not, he had promised that he would not let the US get into these forever wars.
Right.
So it cannot go on forever. The US has to, I think, make the best of a bad bargain. In the first place, they should not have attacked Iran. The second thing is they did it without very clear objectives. Then the third thing is the Iranians, they wanted, the US wanted a regime change, which President Trump had also come out very clearly with, and that is not going to happen as it appears. So none of the objectives are going to be met. And the Iranians are prepared to undergo as much punishment as the US can mete out. So it is a stalemate. And that
Right.
is where I think the Gulf countries, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar especially, Oman, everybody is trying to prevail upon President Trump not to attack Iran for the moment and to have some kind of a deal renegotiated, which will open up the Strait of Hormuz and which will end the hostilities.
Right.
So rest of the world is hoping that the good sense will prevail and there would be an end to the hostilities.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Das Gupta, for joining me on the broadcast with those meaningful insights.